Good morning, everybody, and thank you very much for coming to attend this this conference on future-proofing facades. Now, before I move on briefly to consider a few themes around the topic, I guess I better introduce myself to those who don't know who I am. So my name is Angus Mackie. I'm the chair of QUALICOAT-UKI and Ireland, and also the chair of Alimet Group, which includes the powder coater vertical within its portfolio. And my career, which, gosh, now, it's terrible when you look back, isn't it? But it's nearly 30 years in fenestration and facades, originally encompassing fabrication and installation, and then latterly, of course, into the what we sometimes think of the dark arts of powder coating. And certainly, I would say myself, having been a powder coating customer, it's interesting now to have seen both sides of the fence. But I'd say also like to welcome you to the venue today. So we're in the building centre. A lot of signage around the building, obviously, so we can. You probably don't need me to tell you that it's was founded in 1931, and obviously the aim is to get a bit of collaboration, innovation going in terms of building materials, and share best practice. And I hope you've all had time to have a look at there's a number of exhibitions on the site. There's a lot of things to look at, a lot of public spaces, so hopefully you've had time to investigate, have a look round. As Chris said, we've got a full programme today, so a few admin points before we start. Obviously, mobile phones, it seems to be self-policing because mine doesn't work, so I think, but if at least they were on silent. There will be coffee break at 11 o'clock this morning, which will be served outside where we were previously, and a further break this afternoon at about 3 o'clock. There's a finger buffet lunch at aiming for 20 past 12, and that will also be served in the same area. I'm not sure whether the building centre will be happy if people migrate outside after they've picked up the food, but obviously it's a beautiful day out there. And we would ask, obviously we all take time out from our day jobs for events like these. It's obviously time consuming, but if we could try and stick to the timings as far as we can do, and get things running smoothly. Finally, if the fire alarm does sound, it definitely won't be a drill. So just familiarise yourself with the fire escapes around the building, I think. So, very warm welcome. Our compere today, Chris Champion. Chris is editor of the widely respected Glass News. Long-term entrepreneur, I think is the is how it's put, and a very varied business career. And I actually believe he started life as an auctioneer back in the day. So, yeah, that's what a great job to start with. We're reading about the life and achievements of our keynote speaker, Maxwell Hutchinson. That really is inspiring. I mean, Maxwell's careers included founding an innovative architectural practice. He's been chairman of a very successful business product group, president of Reba, a wide-ranging career as a broadcaster, apparently an accomplished musician, and if all that's not enough, is an ordained deacon of the Church of England. And I hope I haven't missed anything off there, but I mean, gosh, that's a CV and a half, so I'm certainly looking forward to hearing Maxwell speak later on. Our other guest speaker, Professor Michael Stacey, is Professor of Architecture and Tectonics at the Bartlett School of Architecture, which is around the corner. Michael's an award-winning architect with his own practice and combines practice, teaching, research and writing. Michael's the author of a wide range of publications, most recently Aluminium Sympathetic and Powerful in 2020. And I'm looking forward to hearing Michael's paper on his thoughts on the future of aluminium in facade construction. In addition, we've got a number of speakers from what we might call the QUALICOAT family, both from the UK and Europe. And I'd particularly like to welcome our friends from Europe who've taken the time and the effort to travel to us and hopefully to contribute to a really successful day. Now, I'm not going to mention the C word, but all I would like to say is it's fantastic to see everybody here today. Maybe we're getting back to normal a little bit in this world. I certainly hope so. I'm sure you can all detect that I'm recovering from a heavy cold, but I promise you, I'm tested with lateral flow, so I've definitely, that's the worst it's going to get. My neighbour's a doctor and he said I passed being infectious on Sunday, so I don't feel bad. I don't feel any guilt being up here. And finally, a big thank you to our event sponsors, Barley Chalou, Chemetal, Interpon, Jotun and Vertical. So, future-proofing facades. So it's a snappy title, perhaps. I can't remember who thought of it. Might have been Naveen, Axel Nobel. And I think it's one of those things, it's many things to many men, it can, or women. It can mean a number of different things. But when I was thinking about it, I thought, well, do you know what? If we'd have had this conference 10 years ago, the concentration would have been very inward-looking, I think. I think we would have been talking about, what do we do to maximise the service life of facades? It'd all be coating. And let's face it, that's what we do, isn't it? Well, that's what I do. So it's very important, but there's a whole host of factors which are now beginning to impact on us over the last few years. So, legislation firstly, many facets to legislation in terms of building design, but if we just think about fire safety, it's a live topic, very much so in the architectural aluminium powder coating sector. We've seen in the last 5 years the impact on our sector, both future works, but also, the impact of legislation that's retrospective, and the amount of remediation works that have been necessary on buildings over 18 metres following the 2019 edition of Approved Document B, which introduced so many fire safety changes. And you see there's cut in there on the screen. The story's still running. England is likely to move to bringing the same legislation into place for buildings over 11 metres. So, Naveen from Interpon, never sure if it's Interpon or Axel Nobel to be fair, but he'll be giving an insightful presentation this morning on fire safety, and then we've got a panel discussion after that. Climate change, massive subject. We could probably talk all day just about climate change in building design. But there's so many different ways it impacts. Something we take for granted in England is water. It's almost like a free issue material. If you talk to people in the Far East, Middle East, or Southern Europe, it's a massive factor in building design. And then, of course, sustainability. Again, we're at the early days. You've got recycling, energy consumption, which is beginning to have a real impact on certainly industry like powder coating, which is very energy consumptive, and the overall need to reduce carbon footprint. And these are all going to be key drivers in building designs going forward. Jan Lukaszewski's presentation is well worth taking in. These external forces are increasingly shaping our industry and need to be factored into specification and design. And you've only got to look at the impact of BIM, building information modelling. That's enabled people to consider a whole diversity of solutions and even reconcile conflicting objectives. But of course, at the end of the day, as we say in England, you've got to stick to the knitting as well. And maximising service life for facades, you know, that's what powder coaters really need to be concentrating themselves on. And all the topics on here are covered in the course of the day. Dr. Jose Mota will present on QUALICOAT 3.0. Now, this is a specification, it's very much in its infancy, but it's highly relevant as extruders look to push the envelope in terms of recycled content in extrusion. And you know, there is a real conflict there. Whatever the politicians may tell you, sometimes you can't have your cake and eat it. Informed specification is critical. We've got a paper from Chris Mansfield comparing BS 12206 and the current QUALICOAT specification. And Chris had a significant contribution in drafting the revised standard. It seemed to take an awful long time to go through, so I'm pretty sure Chris probably knows it word for word. Pre-treatment methods approved by 12206 and QUALICOAT both permit chrome-free alternatives to chromates and phosphochromates. But specifications continue to be produced which are resistant to chrome-free pre-treatment on external building envelopes. So, and that's despite the fact that the sunset date for the use of chromates is set for 21st of September 2024. So hopefully the presentation from Oliver Kaczmarek of Chemetall will challenge a few of these myths. But you know, even so, I mean, I still get specs referencing BS 6496, even, you know, the last couple of weeks, written in this year. That British standard was withdrawn in 2017. So I guess we must be patient with some of these things. But following the afternoon break, we'll have a presentation from Michael Muller explaining the methodology behind the robust audit procedures to which all QUALICOAT members are subject. People sometimes speak as if 12206 and QUALICOAT are competing or even alternative specifications. And of course they're not. They can both be specified together. I mean, to my mind, I would specify QUALICOAT because it provides a level of assurance that the supply chain has been subject to external audit. And I don't see that that is necessarily the case with 12206, although I perfectly understand why a specifier would wish to reference a British standard. Final presentation is from Philip Ambruch, and that relates to the cleaning and maintenance of powder-coated finishing. It's actually a prerequisite. If you want to retain colour and you want to protect against filiform corrosion, particularly in areas of high pollution, you know, you've got to have a maintenance regime. So before I hand over to Ivo Vermeeren, the president of QUALICOAT Worldwide, who's going to provide a comprehensive introduction to the meaning and reach of our quality mark around the world, I just thought a quick word about QUALICOAT UK and Ireland. And as you can see on the screen, we've got 20 applicator members. That's up from 14 in 2018. And I must say that is in large parts thanks to the unflagging efforts of our secretary, Jan Lukaszewski, who is very ably supported by Margaret Lane. And just a quick note, anyone comparing with the programme, we've actually, I'm saying there's 6 powder coaters, I think that 6 powder suppliers, I think the programme says 5. So just an apology to Jotun, who were misclassified in the programme, unfortunately, so I apologise on behalf of the conference team for that. Okay, so that's it from me, so thank you very much for your time this morning. Please enjoy the day, and over to Ivo.